Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Women's LIK. So we're all about the laughs and the ideas and the knowledge. We're going to be gaining some knowledge today, I hope. So we're one man down today. We don't have Angela with us. She's away today, but she will be back with us in October. And whatever she's doing today, we hope she's having a really great time. So we're joined by two amazing guests. We've got Lola Jaye, who is an author, psychotherapist, and speaker. And we have SJ, it's all about the J's, SJ Adams, who is a designer, award-winning designer. She's a brand owner and personal style coach. And she also features on Steph's Packed Lunch for Channel 4. She's an amazing lady, well, they both are. So we've been away for the summer holidays. And speaking of summer holidays, welcome, Suzy. How was your summer holiday?
It was very, very good, actually. It was a long, hot summer, as I'm sure we all remember, even though it's been raining recently. It was amazing. It was a staycation. We went to many beaches, didn't go abroad. We just gave up on that idea and just went to the coast and went to fun fairs and hung out and ate ice creams. But the highlight for me was going to Silverstone last weekend, which was amazing. So it wasn't actually an F1 race day, but it was... it's called the Ferrari Challenge. So that was a big highlight for me. We're big race fans. So good summer. Yeah. How was yours?
Sounds wonderful. It was wonderful. I'm just, although the sun's shining out, I know it's not summer, it's still bright in the UK, but
Yeah.
I haven't been indoors for what feels like 3 months. And
I know.
I said to my husband, I need to get the vitamin D out because I said, I've been outside for so long. It's going to be weird being inside again for the autumn and winter. I'm dreading it, but I will make my own sunshine. I'll try at least.
Definitely. I think the sun looks good on us. You know, it's we need that sort of impact of the outdoors and the sun rays. And so, but hey, we can cope with this winter. We can do this.
Definitely. Well, I'm so glad that you had a really good summer as well. And I hope everybody out there too had a good summer. But without much further ado, because in terms of time, we haven't got that much time. We've got 1 hour and 2 guests. We're going to welcome SJ Adams to the show. Can we bring on SJ, please?
Yay!
Oh, I love that photo. She's beautiful. I love that.
Good morning. Good afternoon,
everyone.
I love that photo. You are so glam. That photo says it all. It just says it all.
Thank you so much.
And I'm just to make you aware, guys, I'm promoting SJ as well, Urbanized Neckwear. I did steal this from her. When I say steal, I literally stole it from her. She was wearing it and I wanted it and she let me buy it from her. She was modeling it and I had to buy what she was wearing.
Straight off the model. It came straight off the model.
So, well, thank you very much. But let me ask you something, because I love creative people. My sister is both my sisters are very creative. But how did you first get started in the world of design? What was, like, were you a little child and started colouring? What happened?
Literally, actually, yeah. My first memory of creating something out of fabric was probably at the age of 5. I've always grown up around people who sew. My mum used to sew, my sister used to sew, so there was always things around the house to create from scraps of fabric, various different things. So my earliest memory was making a dress for one of my dolls out of some scrap. I specifically remember scrap satin white fabric, and in those days I used to sew by hand. And I remember creating this lovely little dress for my baby doll. And I pricked my finger and it bled all over the white satin dress that I'd made, but I still kept going.
Oh,
I loved it that much. So that's one of my earliest memories. I was just, it was just something that was natural to me. I was always around it, so I did it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, and I know that you've got a son as well, because you created a brand. I'm just sort of doing 2 conversations at once here.
Okay.
And from having your son, who you say is autistic, and I've got autism in my family. I'm aware so much of autism. Yeah. But what was the reason why you then sort of went on to start developing your own brand?
Yeah, it's quite it's quite a story, really. So I had a long period. My son's has high functioning autism.
Right.
So we had a period of anyone who has that experience in the family can probably relate to my story, in the sense that it's quite a difficult thing to navigate yourself through, in terms of getting diagnosis and also getting the help that you need within the school system.
Yes.
And our family went through quite a difficult period, so to speak. And it was coming up to my 40th birthday, and my husband wanted to kind of see me perky and smiling again. And I'd not sewn at that point for quite a while. So he decided to buy me a sewing machine, for another sewing machine for my 40th birthday.
Wow.
And when I received this gift, I felt quite rusty. So it was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to make? What am I going to do? And I just started to ease my way in by making these small neck structures, I will call them. But there were neck structures with a difference, because I was incorporating zips and clasps and fasteners, all these strange sort of bits of hardware, to something that's traditionally just like a piece of fabric. And I was sharing these creations on my personal Facebook, getting really good response from them. And it so happened that another friend of mine was having a local fashion show, and I saw this little call for designers, and I was like, I'm not a designer, I'm not, but you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. So I spent around £50, and it was about £60 actually, on little bits of fabric, zips, clasps, various different things. And I made, and I also kind of upcycled things as well. I do a lot of upcycling using denim and all sorts of things. And I created a 20-piece collection for this fashion show.
Wow.
And it was a massive success. But it was like, okay, what do I do now? So I opened up a shop on Etsy. And before I knew it, I was selling pieces all around the world: Australia, Canada, Holland. I was selling these pieces all around the world. So from that thing that was there to kind of, from a really, really down period, I managed to navigate my way through to something that I absolutely love. And if I'm honest, I would describe it as something that it saved my life. It really did. It brought me out of a dark place. So
oh wow, that's so good to hear. And I've got to say that your clothes are, oh my God, they're out of this world. And there's no sort of set way to wear anything that you actually make. You know, there's the zips, you can wear it in different ways. I mean, you've got to have, guys, we're going to be showing you, you know, where you can find SJ, and you've got to have a look. But you've also won awards, and I'm going to talk about your first award that you won in 2020. You've had some successful years, and you were voted as Windrush Female. I'm reading from a paper here. Okay. Entrepreneur of the Year for Huddersfield and West Yorkshire. How did that all come about, and what happened as a result of that?
Just out of the blue, really. Everything that I've done, I don't believe in coincidence. I do think everything happens for a reason and in a divine order. But this was literally during lockdown, and I say literally, but I work hard and I put my all into everything that I do. So I don't want you to think that it's just, I just tripped on it. I do put a lot of effort and a lot of hard work into what I do, because I love what I do and I love being creative. That's just intrinsic to me. And you never know who's watching. And people do watch, and people were watching, and I was put forward for, first of all, the local award for Windrush on Female Entrepreneur of the Year. So that was for my local area, which is Huddersfield in West Yorkshire, which I was so humbled by, because obviously I wasn't expecting it. And then that went forward to a regional award. So the West Yorkshire region is Huddersfield, Bradford and Leeds. Wow. So they're quite big area, you know. Leeds is quite big. Huddersfield, Bradford as well. And I was put forward for that. People voted and I won.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Yeah, I won that. So that was my first proper award. And it felt good because it was from my community. And you can't beat it when, you know, you're put forward from your community and you win by popular vote from your community as well.
Wow,
So
that is amazing.
at a time where everyone was, you know, not going out and about, that was obviously a virtual experience, but nevertheless, it was still a fabulous one.
Wow.
So much appreciated. So yes, that was my first award that I'd won as a result. But I've grown a lot, and my personal brand has diversified since then. But that was for my, you know, my brand, Urbanized Neckwear. So
Wow,
yeah.
Well, that is such a good advert for it as well. And not only did you win that award, you won the Simply Ladies Award for Fashion Designer of the Year. I've got to say congratulations to you, because I was amazed. Before you tell us about it, the dress that you wore, did you make that dress? Because I was showing my husband.
It wasn't a dress, it was a two-piece.
Was it?
It was for that award. I actually wore I like to turn things on their head a little bit, so I like to add a little bit of edge to the things that I do. Yeah. And I didn't want to wear a conventional dress that everybody would normally expect of an award, so I decided to wear a long flowing skirt and bomber jacket made out of sequins.
Oh my God, that did look really good. And I showed my husband, I said, look at SJ, she's just won that award, look at her, what she's wearing. I was like, I wonder if she made that, because it is amazing. Tell us about the ceremony. I know that Jenny, I can't remember her, was it Jenny
Powell?
Jenny Powell was the
beautiful lady.
How was that show? How was the ceremony? What was your emotions?
It was wonderful. Again, I'll be completely honest with you. I was all for the experience, and I had no expectations, because I was up against some fabulous designers. And not to say that I'm not fabulous and my brand Urbanized Neckwear isn't, but you've got to recognize all the you know, the talent in the room. So I was so pleased that I was there as a finalist experiencing this. And I didn't kind of mentally go beyond that point, if I'm completely honest, because I was just in the moment. So when I was there, it was a lovely ceremony at Royal Armouries in Leeds, room filled, beautiful atmosphere. And when they called my name, I was just in shock. It was like, hey, really? I genuinely couldn't believe that I had won that award.
Wow.
And everything you saw was just shock, to be fair. And it was so deeply received. I actually lost my uncle a few days before that.
Sorry to hear that.
So my heart was feeling quite, you know, I was feeling quite not low, but you know, that feeling that you get where I was overwhelmed with a lot of emotion. Yes. But I was going through the weeks. I knew I had things to do, and at the same time as well, I was starting my journey on Steph's Packed Lunch a few days later. So I had a period packed of all sorts of different emotion. So that award gave me such a huge energy boost in so many different ways. So, and I was just overwhelmed with it all. It was wonderful.
But it just sort of seals it, doesn't it? You wonder sometimes how well you're doing it, and it just seals it for you, doesn't it? I know that I'm doing well, and all fair play to you, because I've got the greatest respect. I did watch you go up and get that award, and you looked fabulous, and you handled that really well with class. Because we're the amount of time we've got, I'm going to pass you over to Suzy. We're sharing the load at the moment. So Suzy's got a few questions that she wants to ask you, but thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you.
Yeah, SJ, it's been a delight just to sit and listen to you. I mean, your energy is contagious. So I feel, you know, just like, woo, SJ's in the room.
Absolutely.
So it's a delight to talk to you. I will actually just pick you up on one small thing, which was about your experience with your son, which is something that I also share as a parent of a young person with autism and ADHD. And my sort of therapy was writing a book about it. So I'd love you to have read that at the time, because I understand that, you know, that place you go to when you just feel it's ever so difficult, until your young person stepped into their own power.
Yeah, absolutely.
They find their own voice. So if you're ever interested, I could send you a copy of.
Yeah, I'd love that. I would.
In the clouds. It's all about that whole how they mask, they act like they're okay, but actually they're not. And so I've walked that walk. So power to you for kind of doing something so creative, and I'm sure he's super proud of you. So well done.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So also, you know, as well as this lovely this brand you have, you describe yourself as a personal style coach, which kind of keys into your work with Steph's Packed Lunch. So tell us how all that came about.
Wow. So this whole thing came about because of lockdown. Again, it was my brand at the time. A lot of the things that I used to do around urbanized neckwear was going to artisan events, selling my designs. And obviously, because of lockdown, there weren't any events in which to sell my pieces face to face. So I was faced with a situation of, what do I do? And like a lot of people, I think I went through a lot of soul searching through lockdown. I used that time to go within and really try to think about my purpose and what I'm here on the planet to do. And encompassing all of my experience in terms of design and my experience around working with people. I've got various sort of different qualifications, psychology, all of those different things, mentoring. And I love working with people. I see myself as quite a inspirational person, somebody who you can bounce a lot of energy from. And when I was kind of looking at women in lockdown, I was seeing a lot of us suffering. We had a lot of plates to spin. And as a result of all those plates, we were neglecting ourselves. There were a lot of us, you know, I know for myself, I didn't wear a bra for like 2 months. You know? And it was just like, so I could see how we were suffering. And
honestly,
in terms of, you know, who we are and how we looked. And I wanted to create something that had a deeper impact on women, bringing us out in terms of who we are, the potential that we have. And making us sort of feel special from the inside out. And I came up with the idea of creating a personal style coaching program that incorporated all of my experiences, all of my skills, and all of my strengths. And it's me. This is what I was put on this planet to do. I was put on this planet to help women become the best version of themselves. And that's what I do through my personal style coaching. And really bizarrely,
with Steph, what was the journey?
I need to tell you this story because honestly, when I say that nothing is coincidence, truly it isn't. Everything happens for a reason. So people are always watching you. And on social media, I put out the best version of myself because that's who I believe we should all be, our best versions of ourselves. So I post pictures, reels, all sorts of different things. And what happened was one afternoon, I was at home. I was actually trying to meditate, actually. And I was at home on my phone when I had a private message. And I thought it was just from some random weirdo. I just sort of read one line, and this person said that they work on TV, and I thought, oh yeah. Anyway, when I'd finished my meditating, I looked further into the message, and I saw that this person was genuine, and this person said that they work on a TV show, Steph's Packed Lunch. They've come across my my social media, my Instagram page, and they absolutely love me and want to speak to me. Now I only had about 700 followers, so I'm like thinking people normally like have, I thought, thousands and thousands of followers. I was like, well, he sounds genuine. I contacted him. I said, yes, let's have a conversation. And literally by the end of that week, we had dates for me to go on Steph's Packed Lunch.
Oh my goodness.
It's literally like that. And he said, and if I can just say this, and hopefully this inspires any of your viewers who are moving forward in their purpose, he said that he just stumbled across my picture and loved my energy. He went on my page and he instantly felt my energy and knew that I would be right for what he wanted.
Amazing.
And that for me says everything. It's not about all the followers and all of this, all of that. Just be yourself, be authentic, be genuine, put that version of yourself out.
And you will be seen.
And you can be seen.
Oh my God.
That's as simple as that.
You know, and I think you make a really good point about the fact you at the time you didn't have loads of followers, and people get obsessed with the numbers and the likes. But I think it's all about if you are your true self and you're genuine, you can have 10 followers.
Literally.
And you only need one, as in your case.
Not the quantity, it's the quality. And that is so true. So let my experience be testimony to you. Just from that, I managed to get myself on TV, and hopefully, you know, bigger things ahead too. So
absolutely. So what's it like working on that program with the production company and the pace, and what's Steph like? You know, I mean, she's a very large character.
The pace is insane. It is so fast. But it is such a wonderful experience once you get your head around everything being so busy. The people, all the other lunchmates were on there are phenomenal. Just a phenomenal bunch of people who are pretty much like me, actually, who we're quite happy to be who we are and comfortable in our own skin. A lovely bunch. And likewise, the production team. They are very creative and think. You can see that they're out of the box and willing to try new things. And that's what I love, because that's the type of person who I am as well. And Steph's lovely. All of the guests are lovely. It's just a really, I pinch myself sometimes and I think, how did I manage this? It's literally like that.
It's off to work I go.
I stick to the studio. Yeah, it's wonderful, and it's a good opportunity for me to showcase on a large platform who I am as an individual. So I feel so grateful for this opportunity. The gratitude that I have for the journey of certainly the last 2 years has just been
amazing.
Yeah, literally.
It's lovely to know there are people like you doing that work, you know, on mainstream and being your creative self. And that is, you know, that's basically where you say you've achieved some of your purpose. You know, you are there and you're being yourself and you are remunerated and you're amongst like-minded people. I mean, that's a complete and utter gift, isn't it? And one you much deserve. So well done. That sounds amazing.
Thank you so much.
Just a quick question before I think we've got a couple of more questions, but what are the key trends you see for 2023?
Key trends in terms of
fashion forward,
now here's
fabrics, colors.
Right, that's a really interesting question, because as a personal style coach, my focus is on style. So it's all about the individual. I start from that individual. So trends for me can come and go, but style lasts forever. So we focus on that individual and we create your own style. If trends suit you, absolutely fantastic. Go with them, dip in, dip out. But we start off with you first, and we start off from who you are authentically and bring that out through what you wear. So that is what I say to you. If you like a colour, you wear it. If you like a style, you wear it. But you've got to understand who you are first and how that comes out.
That's great. Okay, let me just go and get my leopard skin jacket now.
Hey, listen, you can rock anything if you've got that attitude.
I think she's got a leather cat suit as well, maybe.
Tell me about that, Sandra.
I love that. All your secrets.
Oh gosh. I think I'm just looking at the time, and I'm aware that, you know, we've got another guest to chat to. So, Sandra, is there any last questions for SJ, or is it time to roll out?
One quick question. It came on the screen, and it is a friend of mine, so I will ask the question. Grace, who is a friend and is watching, has just said, who do you get your fashion like have you sort of, who do you get? Oh, there we go. There we are. What influences the designs you create?
Oh, that's a really good question. My personal style is I'm quite Afrocentric.
Okay.
I love African prints, modern, contemporary African prints, but I also have an edge to that. So I like to mix it with like modern things like zips and clasps and various different things like that. In terms of people, I've got quite an eclectic mix. I love Lauryn Hill. I just love the freeness of her style. But I also love old-fashioned Hollywood as well. So I love Hollywood glamour, the Audrey Hepburn, glamorous, chic looks as well. So I'm quite eclectic in that sense, very eclectic. And if you go on my social media, my SJ Designer UK and also my Urbanized Neckwear on Instagram and Facebook, you'll see what I mean. I've got quite an eclectic out-of-the-box look.
Definitely. I do go on there all the time and I do steal some of your ideas. I use it all the time. Not my own, but I put a little bit of yours in there because it really rocks.
And I give loads of advice as well. Loads of style.
I take that advice. Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Thank you for having me.
It was a delight. So now I think it's time to move on to our second guest of the afternoon, the wonderful, the incomparable, the dynamic author and psychotherapist, Lola Jaye. If we could get Lola Jaye into the studio, please.
Interesting listening to that was really interesting, wasn't it? All that fashion.
Oh, I just want to go and look at my whole wardrobe now and go, keep ditch.
A nice picture of Lola Jaye there. I like that.
Yeah. Lola, are you on? You've got your microphone on? Are you good to go?
She's on mute at the moment. Lola, you're on mute at the moment. There you go.
Excellent.
That's okay. This is real life, remember? So things go wrong.
Lola, how are you today? It's lovely to see you again.
Yes, all good. Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. I was determined after meeting you at the Birmingham Literary Festival to get a piece of Lola Jaye and talk about your amazing book. But before we get started with that, I thought it'd be great if people understood a little bit about how your author journey started. So what was it like at the beginning for you?
Okay, well, it started such a long time ago, pre-social media. So I would have to send 3 chapters, a synopsis and a covering letter by post to like a trillion agents that would just send it back and say, no, thanks. It was quite demoralizing at times, but you kind of have to persevere, right? Because you have something. And it all kind of came to a head when I actually got a response from somebody. And for you to get a response in those days was huge. And it was awful. It literally said, oh, I love the idea for this book, but your writing, not for us. And I just thought, wow, okay, he's just dissed my writing. Do I give this up?
Wow.
No, because I had self-belief. Fast forward 10 years, I saw that person at an industry party and they didn't even remember me.
Wow.
And that's a lesson, because if I'd allowed that person's voice to determine my journey, it would have been catastrophic for me, and yet he doesn't even remember me. I am so unimportant to him. So that's a lesson. So, and I saw him at an author party that was celebrating us authors, and he did not listen.
I'm just thinking then I had a wicked thought. So did you put like some peanuts in his drink or something?
No, because it could be allergic. I'm not going to kill somebody, but I guess just the lessons, I think, is what you learn from these things. Just picking yourself up. There's going to be people that are going to be naysayers. Keep picking yourself up. Fall down, 7 times, get up 8, right? That's what we say. And so that was part of the journey for me, but it was long, arduous. But when someone says yes, all you need is one yes, right?
Exactly. And quite similar to SJ, actually, that thing of just keep going, that self-belief. And actually what people are buying into is you and your uniqueness. And you might think, oh, well, there's loads of designers out there, loads of writers, let me just leave it alone. But actually, if you keep going, I love that. It's a great lesson. So when you're not writing, what kind of books do you like to read?
Oh, okay. Well, I just finished Will Smith's autobiography, which was excellent. But I'm just obsessed with Will Smith anyway, but that was good. I don't usually read non-fiction, but because it's him, I thought, I have to. Fiction reminds me of studying too much. When you're studying to be a therapist, you read loads of books and it's like, nope, I want to stay away from that a little bit. But I love books where the heroine goes through so much hardship but then comes up on top. I love that. So when I was growing up, I used to enjoy reading things, well, not too young, but Jackie Collins and things like that, where there's a heroine, she goes through, comes up on top. So that's the kind of message I like to read. Yeah, with books.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, in terms of sort of authors, I mean, as sort of cultural authors, who do you rate? I mean, one of my favourites, and actually that kind of reminded me a little bit of The Attic Child, is Toni Morrison. Is one of my favourites.
Gosh, what an honour for you to even say that. I mean, my name is
well,
wow.
You know, there's a bit of that in the book. But so, who are your sort of favourite cultural Black Indigenous authors?
Maya Angelou. Oh my gosh, I just wish she was alive. Oh my gosh, she is the person. I mean, yeah, her writing has really, really influenced me. You know, Cage Bird, I mean, that was something else, because it's the nuances in that novel that just get me, that we see this mighty Maya Angelou as this serene earth mother. But when you read the book, what she went through and what she had to do, again, it's the heroine going through stuff and then coming up on top. I mean, it's just amazing to me. Yeah.
So I get a sense you've got strong female characters, and what kind of set you alight?
They do, yeah. Even though The Attic Child is mainly about a male character, but yeah, because I guess I'm identifying with them in some way, in that sense. Yeah, things don't come to you easily. Things happen, you know. But if you can still be okay after all that, then you're good.
Good, fantastic. Okay, I think that Sandra's got a few questions for you as well, and then I will come back to you shortly.
I have, and I'm looking forward to reading your book, Lola. So I've got 10 books always on the go to read. I'm looking forward to reading yours. So look, so tell me about your writing process. How would you describe it? What I mean, the thing is, the reason I'm asking this, I've watched my sister. She's just done a master's in creative writing. Her tutor was Bernadine Evaristo, who I know that you've met, and Benjamin Zephaniah. So I'd like to know, what's your process?
Oh, well, chaotic at first when nothing's happening. Like, I have to go through this period where I just finish a book and I'm just, I watch reality TV and I just don't do anything. And then when it hits me, that idea, I'm all go. And it's kind of happening now while I'm trying to promote the book in other countries. I'm writing. So I'm in this weird zone where everything goes off. I just write. I just write verbatim, just everything free flowing, because it's the first draft. I don't do anything. It's a lot of it is rubbish on there at the moment, but I know that I can edit that into something lovely. So this is my favorite part. I just let everything out. The story's there, it's growing. I've already written a synopsis, but that synopsis can change. I'm not tied to it. The characters are all in my head. I'm feeling them now. They're no longer strangers. And I just write. So once that first draft is done, I'll leave it, go and have a life again, come back to it, and then do that intense edit. And at this point, my editor and my agent do not see it, because I'm really fanatical about no one seeing it. Then once that intense edit has happened, there might be another edit, and then I'll let my agent and my editor see it, who are always waiting with bated breath. So they'll get it. And then that's how it is. And then things start to calm down a bit. But in this stage, I'm like a nutty professor, basically. Having a shower is taking too much time away from writing. But I do it, but yeah, so that's my thing. And I usually write the ending first, which is a bit controversial. I know where I'm going when I've written the ending. I'm not tied to it, but I know if, John Doe dies, that's going to be in the ending. So I always kind of do that first.
That's fair enough. And the thing is, I'm trying to write a book myself at the moment. I don't know if we've lost Suzy, but I'm trying to write a book myself. And I had to go away for the day. I had it in my head, and every time I had it in my head, I was almost like forgetting it. And I had to go away for the day, sort of like to a health farm, and then just have a break to actually write my thoughts of what I wanted to write. So I'm going to get it finished, and I keep, every now and then I have I could just be sat there and lots of things come into my head, and I start making notes somewhere. But I know that how difficult it is, and I've got the greatest respect for anybody that can write a book. I think it's amazing. Do you ever suffer with writer's block?
recently, when I finished The Attic Child, because I mean, I've written 7 books now.
Wow.
So The Attic Child, so it's not my first book, but it was the first one that affected me in this way because it was based on a real little boy who had lived, who had breathed.
Wow.
And so he kind of came into my life and just came on me. And so I couldn't let him go. So it was so huge. So I had to wait until he left. He did finally. And then I just wanted to have a bit of a life. And then I just couldn't write. And then I started writing a thriller that had nothing to do with, you know, what I was supposed to write for this book contract. But I needed to write because that's what I do. I write. Writers write. So I just wrote the thriller. I mean, it's probably not very good. It might be good. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But I kind of cleanse myself of what this book had kind of put me through, because there was a lot of traumatic moments writing it. I was I was writing it during lockdown, and you know, during the Black Lives Matter kind of movement.
A very emotional time.
Absolutely. So I was watching TV and all these, you know, the things that, you know, all these demonstrations and, you know, statues of explorers being pulled down. And I was literally writing about a little boy who was brought over to England by an explorer, and it was a true story. Goodness. So that was triggering for me. I mean, Black people were triggered anyway during that time. Suddenly racism existed. Oh, thanks for acknowledging us and not gaslighting us for how many years. So all that was very triggering. And then as a therapist, I'm working with racial trauma all the time. So it was strange writing this book. It was like something I've never experienced before, and I don't think I'll experience it again.
I can imagine. How do you overcome, although everybody gets writer's block, so how do you overcome it?
Overcome the writer's block?
Yes. What do you do to make a change?
I just knew that it would come.
Okay. Is it just like a waiting game almost?
Yeah, you have that guilt. So I'm watching yet another reality show and I haven't written a word. So you do have to deal with that guilt, but also it's about knowing that it's going to come. That I've been here before in a lesser way. I just need to listen to my body. I need to just sit on the sofa, watch TV, listen to audiobooks, and it's fine to do so. I had to give myself permission to rest, and then I know that it would come, because while you're worrying about it, the ideas are not going to come.
Okay, that's fair enough. And how long did it take for you to write Attic Child?
Not very long, because this story started in 2016 in my head when I saw his photograph. So since 2016 to 2020, I'd written 2 books and I got them published by Penguin, but he still was in my head. So he was always there. So when I finally got the contract to write this book, it just came out within months. It just came out. That's the first draft. Obviously, the second draft and all that, it's different. So And we're on lockdown as well. But even though I was on lockdown, I was still working. So I wasn't just at home. But yeah, it was easy because he was living in my head.
Wow, that's amazing. You've done really, really well, and especially to write in lockdown, especially as we were all going through so much. I'm so impressed. Just to make you aware, everyone that is watching and listening, Suzy's having technical issues. Obviously, we've lost her on screen. We're going to keep going and hope that we get Suzy back again, but we still have to keep running. Yeah. May I ask about, you're a psychotherapist, so how much of your therapeutic work finds its way into your characters?
Well, just a disclaimer, I would never put any of my clients' issues in my book. So I need to say that because it's really important to me. As a therapist, I've been practicing for a while now, you get affected by certain stories, and I think it's easier to write about these stories because of my work. And, you know, when you studied for so long to do this kind of work, you focus on the mind, motivations of people. So when my character is motivated to do something, it's easier for me to kind of showcase why she or he is doing this. Even the character in The Attic Child, the explorer, who I don't just want to say I don't focus on, because I'm focusing on Black stories in this, but the explorer who is white, even him, I've had people say to me that even though I despise him, there's an understanding of his character and why he's led to do this. And that's really important to me, that even if I'm going to write a baddie, I need to show the motivations. People are not born bad, I don't believe. It's society and experiences that make you, privileges that make you a certain way. So that's what I like to show. So I think being a therapist, it's easier for me to do that, I feel.
Why did you become a psychotherapist? I know I'm veering away from the book at the moment. What was your reasons?
I always wanted to help people. I always wanted to help people. It's my purpose. It still is my purpose. Whether I can do that through therapy or through writing, that's okay. But it's my purpose to help others.
That's fabulous, and it's such a deep job. It's so, you know, it's really, really deep. We have got Suzy back again. Can you hear us, Suzy?
I can hear you. Yes. Am I back in the studio?
So I've gone on.
I'm back up.
Welcome back. I was just about to ask Suzy about that. Sorry, Lola, about the attic child, about the historical knowledge. That question. I don't know whether you want to continue. So.
Yeah, my laptop is having a bit of a meltdown, so I'm sorry if I feel like I'm buffering. I can't actually. There's a very weird delay that's going on, but sorry about that, folks. Just like weirdness going on here. But anyway, yeah, the question was, The Attic Child is a historical novel. So my question was, how important was it for you to be historically accurate as you were writing about the transatlantic slave trade?
Well, I wasn't really
writing. Are we doing some crazy?
I think are we having sound issues, or is it?
Oh, I'm okay. I can hear you. I can't hear Suzy.
Okay, so the question that Suzy asked, I'll repeat it just in case, is Attic Child is an historical novel. How important was it for you to be historically accurate about the transatlantic slave trade?
I don't really focus on the transatlantic slave trade. I mean, I make a reference to it, but really it's about the atrocities that happened in the Congo in the latter part of the last century. And it was really important for me to be accurate. I engaged the services of professors, people that this is their job, even down to the language. Is that there's a scene, don't want to spoil it for you, but there's a language that is spoken. And obviously language evolves over time. And so there was somebody at a place in Belgium that located an actual dictionary for that language in that year, which is like, 1909. That's how accurate I got, because I felt that the story of the Congolese people has not been told. This was millions of Africans that were killed. And even though my book is not a historical book to educate you on that, it's a fictional story, it's still there in the background. So I owed it to that story and to those people to get it right, just get it right. So it was immensely important. Yeah.
And it's a very deep topic anyway, and it's something that we have to know about. And we the more we learn, well, the better, of knowing historically what's happened. So it's,
absolutely.
Thank you very much for sharing. Suzy, I don't know whether you're still back online. Are you happy for me just to share that last question that I can see? Is that okay? But in case we haven't got sound, Suzy.
Absolutely, because I can't see anything.
Well, I don't want to give too much away. In case you don't want to answer this, there's a question here that says, in the book, you describe one of the characters as feeling diminished when he looks at himself in the mirror in European clothes, which has been written. It's a great metaphor. Tell us more about your character and his losses through the eyes of a therapist. If you don't want to say any more because you're worried about giving the book away, then let us know that. But if you'd want to let us know, we'll be happy to hear that.
I'll try and be general, so I don't give much away, because there are lots of twists in the book. But I think when someone is displaced from somewhere that it's not their home, they've not been born into, the culture that is not familiar to them, there are certain things that will be lost. And sometimes, that could be the name. And obviously in African culture, I'm African, our names are really important to us. So for someone to then forcibly take that name away, it is taking a part of you away, your ancestry. Maybe the grandparents gave that name to them. Maybe it's the name means where he came as, what number he was in the sibling line. It can mean anything. So you're taking that away and replacing it with something that is nothing to do with you. So that's part of this thing of him being diminished. But also he's wearing Western clothes. He's not used to that. He's used to wearing, his tribal wear, and even there is a scene where, no, let me not say that. I don't want to give that away. That's quite deep. But yeah, he's diminished. Looking in the mirror, he's surrounded by people that don't look like him. So there's no one he can relate to. And I think that there's people now today that feel that way. and that can relate to that. I know that I've related to that in one way or another. Not as traumatic as what he has, but I think as Black people, we're in a place where sometimes, well, all the time, we're told that we're not wanted, and that that hits deep. Yeah,
it's very deep in it, and let's face it, we were in the you know, going back in history, we were given different names, and it caused us confusion along the way. And many of us are just trying to get ourselves sorted out now in terms, you know, where we are. And it's not anybody's fault. It's historically what has happened to us, and we're all trying to find our way. So yes, I do understand exactly what you're saying. Someone's just written, there was a question that came up. I don't know whether, Ali, you can share that question, one of our directors, to show that it says, do any of the characters stay with you long after you've done a story?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier about the character of Dikembe, he's based. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We're getting a bit of, I don't know where we're getting that sound from.
Okay. The of Dikembe, he's based on a real child called Ndugu Mahali. So as I said before, this is the first time I've based a book on a real person. So that child, I first saw his photograph in the National Portrait Gallery in 2016. So I never started writing the book until 2020. So he was with me all that time, and I was writing other books, other characters. And then he stayed, and that's why I was finding it quite difficult to write a new book, because he was still there. But then he left on 5th of May. He finally left, and then I felt a bit freed to do other things. So his character will be in a less of a way forever, because he's a little boy who didn't get a chance to live. He died at 12 years old in real life. So my story is just reimagining his life, what I hoped it could have been like eventually, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very, very emotional and very deep.
Absolutely. So there's people all over the internet of Ndugu Mahali dressed in, you know, British wear. He was in England, you know, in the 18th century. So he lived, he was a person, and he matters. And I want to make sure that his name is always known.
Who do you think your book's going to go out to? Will it be, you know, can it go into schools, or is it more of an adult-based book?
It's a little adult. There are themes in there that are quite triggering. And quite raw. It's not, you know, it's not trauma porn, because, you know, sometimes people kind of get that mixed up. Oh, why are Black people always writing about trauma and whatever? But again, this is a real story. So I think his story deserves to be told. So I don't care what anyone says about that. He deserves it. But there's a triumph at the end. Without giving too much away, there is a huge triumph at the end. I'm so glad when I get people emailing me, they walk away with the same feeling. They cry in the middle of it, but at the end of it, they walk away with this kind of sense of hope for the future. And that's what I want.
That's so deep. So what about where
I think
Suzy,
sorry to interrupt.
That's okay, because we're back.
I was listening while I was trying to figure out my my laptop, which is crying basically. But thank you for sharing that, Lola. That's amazing. I mean, I'm halfway through, and you know, you explained that scene so well, because that really hit me. And you know, that looking in the mirror thing that just felt so deep to me, because you know, a lot of therapy work is about looking at yourself, you know, in a mirror, whether physically or you know, psychologically, and who am I? It's very fundamental to us as human beings, in who do I see in the mirror, and who is that person. So that really cut me to the quick, you know, that sense of loss of his identity. And I think that so many people today still feel that loss of identity.
Yes.
In terms of representation. That's why, you know, we have all of these movements about representation matters.
Absolutely.
And the character Dikembe, you know, is for a little boy, you know, you also get across his big feelings, you know, and he struggles to be a man whilst in a child's body. And I think that resonates again with so many young boys that we see who are struggling to be men. Then what does it mean to be a Black man, a man of African Caribbean origin, a man of colour, if that's a bit of what does that mean exactly? But they're all trying to figure out who they are. And we know as parents of Black men, Black boys, that struggle for identity is real.
Yeah.
And we're still living it. We're still experiencing it. We're still trying to help them through that journey of who are you?
Yeah.
You know, that I thought that was amazing how you captured that all in that scene with that boy. So it's just an incredible read. I mean, I've not been reading myself because I've been writing. So for me to read a fiction book and not be able to put it down has been quite an experience. So I just would recommend everyone who hasn't got it. And also, you know, quote, Black History Month coming up. It's a great time to reflect on those lives that maybe we haven't heard about.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's important. There's so many stories out there. And as a writer, I kind of made it my thing to just bring out stories about Black people who existed here pre-Windrush. There's this misconception that people only came here after Windrush, and that's so not true. We're here from Tudor time. So, you know, my next book is set in the 1850s, and there were a sizable about Black people here, and Black women. Black people here.
Yeah, if you go to museums and galleries, you can see them in the portraits. You know, you see black people represented who were in those houses, in the courts. And my mum used to collect those paintings or take photographs of them to show this is a Black person. This thing was painted in 1827, and they were, you know, in that family portrait. So yeah, absolute evidence.
Exactly, and they weren't all servants. Is the thing.
No.
Not all servants. Some of them had, you know, great jobs, lived in nice houses, you know, and that needs to be celebrated as well. So there's a balance. So we're not seen as so-called victims and of circumstance. Sometimes we did okay, you know, despite all that was thrown at us. I mean, horrendous in the 1800s. But there are people that were doing well and they were helping others in the community. Absolutely.
Yeah. And we're still doing well, and that's the thing, you know, we're not always victims, you know, reflecting back on SJ and her experiences and all that talent and passion. You know, that's what we bring to the world, and it isn't just about that sadness of the Windrush generation. So I think that balance is really needed.
Absolutely. I always hate the term, when someone says they descended from slaves. No, slavery was an interruption of Black history. That's not where it started, thanks. So we need to get that narrative away, you know, without excusing or ignoring the slave trade, of course. But that's not where we started, you know. So much more than that. You know, we descend from kings and queens, and that needs to be celebrated. And I do touch on that on my new book, but I'm not going to say anything else about my new book because it's not yet.
Can I just interrupt a second? In terms of Attic Child, can you see it going to TV, being made into a film or anything?
Oh, amen to that. I mean, I would love that, you know, but I could see it. There's too many themes for it to be a film, so it'd have to be an aspect.
Oh, okay.
You know, a film is like 90 minutes, and there's so much in that book, as you would know, Suzy. So it would be an aspect of it, and I would I'd give away too many spoilers, but there is an aspect that I'd like to be focused on. But yeah, most definitely, or like a mini series on Netflix. If anyone's listening, because you know it happens to your previous guests.
There's always someone listening.
Look what happened to SJ. Who knows?
There you go.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I was listening earlier as I was trying to sort out my laptop. Who nice machine. It seems to have stopped crying now, so we have some stability. I was listening. So I did as a Jamaican person of Jamaican origin, I was thinking of the Transatlantic slave trade, but obviously the Congo is a whole different episode. But there's the talk of the journey on the ships that made me think of that particular period. But the atrocities in the Congo, you know, wow,
millions were killed, and people don't know this. It's so frustrating to me. Millions were killed by, I don't want to even say his name, but Leopold. And the country was plundered, and they're still suffering today because of that. And the reason why I chose the Congo, because I could have chosen anywhere, that Ndugu Mahali, the child that died, we think he was born in Tanzania, but he did die in the Congo. So that I just thought, okay, this makes sense. Let me set my character as coming from the Congo, because the real person died there. And I want to bring this to light. There was something in me that really wanted to bring this to light. This is, you know, millions of Africans that were killed, and we don't know about this. That's not right. That isn't right.
Thank
I
you.
mean, the scale was huge, wasn't it? Thank you, Lola. It's been a pleasure, and I'm so sorry that our conversation was interrupted. And you know, but it's been an absolute joy to see you again and hear you talk about your book, which will be available in October on paperback. Am I correct?
Yep, but it's available now on hardback if anyone wants to buy hardback, and it's available in audio at the moment. And Lucian Masamati from Game of Thrones is narrating it, and he is wonderful. He is wonderful.
Excellent. Well done, you. So we're almost at the end of the show, Sandra. I think we've got a few more burning questions, actually.
We have. We're going to bring back SJ to the show. And Lola, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Because I think we have got 2 questions outstanding. We may not have enough time for it, but SJ, someone had put a question on. I think there was one about the sewing bee. That's my sister, would you believe? She's saying, are you a sewing bee fan, the show of Sewing Bee?
I'll be honest with you, I don't watch loads of TV. I don't watch loads of TV. But interestingly, but I do catch snippets of things. And interestingly, I actually befriended the lady who, her name's Juliet, who was one of the winners on Instagram. Wow. And she's a lovely lady. So we kind of communicate every now and again on Instagram. But Sewing Bee, I don't know. I don't know if I would. I don't know. It's something that's quite strange, Sewing Bee.
Well, I think my sister's asking because I watch it. Because I told her we were all very creative, very artistic. My sister's got one's got an art degree. We also, she's put there, I also sew soft furnishings. That's my sister promoting herself. She's like you, and she's got that same vibe as well. So that's why she's asking. Yeah. So she likes the Afrocentric fabrics and all sorts of things like that. She's even written that on there. But so that's why she's asking. We watch it and compare notes and all sorts. She went further. I was like we were sewing at the same time, and mine was worse than hers. Hers was much better than mine, but we're all sort of really artistic. And I don't know if there's any other questions. We are running out of time, so I'm going to just quickly tell everyone that our next show is going to be the 23rd of October. It's going to be Black History Month. We've had some great guests today. We always hope to get great guests, and we hope for the 23rd for Black History Month that we also have great guests. If you want to find us, we're at Ultravision UK on social media. And if you want to, you've seen where these guys are, SJ and Lola, where you can find them about their book. It's all going to be on social media. You can see that. And we put that across the screen as well, if you're watching it back. We haven't obviously got time for that other question. Suzy, did you have a final word at all that you want to say at all?
I mean, you know, if ever there was a great beginning to Black History Month, it's talking to these 2 amazing, incredible, talented Black women. You know, there's Black history, but there's Black present.
Oh, thank you.
I like that. I really like that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
We're hoping that in the future, I mean, SJ, Lola, thank you very much for coming on to the show, but we're hoping that in the future we can meet you in person and do something else. Who knows? And maybe it'll be a fashion show, SJ. If I speak to Sandra, we can do something.
I want to wear one of your garments for sure.
I think good. Lola, her things are good. I'm telling you. I'm
going on straight after. I'm going to go on.
Urbanized neckwear. This is on there.
You get really jealous when you see what she's wearing as well. She's got a pose.
Oh, I know what I meant to say. If you wouldn't mind, SJ, sharing a photograph of what you wore for that award with the bomber jacket, the sequins and the long dress, because that just sounds incredible. So please post that straight away.
I will. I'll send that to you.
Thank you.
Definitely. We're down to 1 minute. I just want to say thanks once again to SJ and Lola for coming onto the show. I've given you the date of our next show, which is the 23rd of October. I want to say to everybody that's watching and everybody that's listening, thank you very much for taking the time to follow us, and do look after yourselves. And that's my final word. Have a really good Sunday afternoon. Enjoy the sun if you're in. I'm not sure if it's the sun, but enjoy the sun. Bye everyone.
I didn't know